Ow! You didn't stop! Oh my god! What the fuck? Bro! Why am I?
You don't know how much you
Whoa! Whoa! What the fuck? Yeah, what you just saw is Cyberpunk 2077. Maybe the most widely discussed game of 2020. Maybe one of the most hated ones of 2022, except maybe one other. Some people seem to love the game, while others really seem to hate it. It looks like there are just two completely different camps of people who neither want to talk to each other nor understand legitimate points of the other side. But is Cyberpunk 2077 really such a bad game? Or is it, like some say, the best game of the year? With this video, I want to show you that from my perspective, this game is kind of a middle thing between the two extremes. And you know, as Obi-Wan told us years ago, only Sith deal in absolutes.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
And I'm definitely not a Sith. So I will try to look at this game from a certain perspective of a person who completed it, played over 117 hours and beat every major side quest. I mean, you can't ignore these side quests, they are so much quality, you know? Whatsoever, I will look at this game as a game, not as a product from a company, not at all the things CD Projekt Red or anyone else did or did not do wrong. This review 1 month after its release will focus on the core game and not on all the controversies surrounding it. I will mention them at the end, but this review will clearly focus on the game itself. So I've started this by dividing the game in different categories that I will go through in this video. The first category, and maybe the most complex one of them, is the gameplay aspect of Cyberpunk. After that I will come to the story that, although many liked it, was also discussed in certain aspects. Of course I will not talk about the story in detail, so there are no spoilers. Then I will speak about the progression of the game and the problems I have with the system. And at the end I will examine how good the technique is. Therefore I will look at the graphics, the sound and of course the bugs. And after that I will show you that from my point of view Cyberpunk 2077 is still a good game, even though it has its flaws. The gameplay of Cyberpunk 2077. A difficult story, especially because in general the gameplay is really good and also feels like it should. You can play as Rambo and just shoot everyone that comes in your way. You can go the sneaky way and kill all the enemies without them noticing. You can hack your way all around the enemy without ever killing one of them. You see, there are many different options of how you can play this game. And of course, they all affect the gameplay in a different way. For example, in my first few hours, I tried a sneaky way. I wanted to spare as many enemies as I could, so I always went in missions by sneaking. And at first, I also skilled the skill tree the best way possible to fit my playstyle. And it was fun, I like to play this way. But others might find a different playstyle much more suitable for them, and I think that is one big strength of this game. You can play as you want, and as whatever character you want. Compared to The Witcher 3, the other big game from CD Projekt, Cyberpunk has much more options for its gameplay. In Witcher 3, you play as a witcher who fights with a sword and sometimes uses some ores and potions, but the core gameplay stayed the same throughout the whole game. In Cyberpunk, on the other hand, you can play many different variations of playstyles and the gameplay changes over the more than 50 hours you will need to beat the game. Of course, you can't just go from Ramboing your way through the enemies to sneaking to kill them all. That would require a different skill tree, but you can change the gameplay on the go from, say, for example, sneaking and playing very silently to shooting people with your sniper rifle. This also fits the imagination of being a sniper mixed with being sneaky. And of course you can also play as a hacking specialist while sneaking. One other big gameplay aspect of Cyberpunk 2077 is the car driving, of course. And even if it has its weaknesses, it essentially is a fun experience. Except if, suddenly a flying car crashes into your way. but we will come to the bugs later. And you also have to say that you can compare it to a specialized racing game, say for example Forza Horizon 4 or something. For what it is, namely an action adventure with RPG elements, the car driving works. It just feels good driving through Night City while the sun's setting and the radio is playing some cool music. So after all, the core gameplay of Cyberpunk is good. Most of the time I had fun playing it, and it is far more diversified than, for example, in The Witcher 3. There are indeed some progression problems I had, but I will come to them later. The car gameplay is also essentially fun, but it certainly also has its flaws, with bugs and weird things happening while you drive. And I also have to mention that the AI from all the other drivers in Night City seems to just know how to drive forward, because a slight change to the normal traffic, of course the player can cause, will cause them to stop driving and just do nothing. They will stand there forever doing nothing. That is also one thing that can pull you out of the immersion.
In 2077, they voted my city the worst place to live in America.
But now we will come to the story. Of course, there will be no spoilers. To be honest, I really enjoy the story, but for me it never really caught me as the one, for example, of The Witcher 3. In its core, the story asks questions about like humanity, how we see ourselves in an ever-advancing technological world, and what defines humankind. That are really interesting questions. And for example, Johnny Silverhand, played by the infamous Keanu Reeves,
You're breathtaking!
is also really good, but you never feel the same connection to the main character named V than you do to the characters in video games that are predefined. Like, and I hate to always compare these two, Witcher 3's Geralt. He is a predefined character. He has a backstory. You can't modify the backstory. In the case of the main character of Cyberpunk, it's another story. One other issue regarding these things is the fact that even though the characters we meet during his or her journey are well written and most of them are interesting, but they never really seem to have the same connection together and to the main character than, for example, Geralt and Yennefer had in Witcher 3. It's just a subjective opinion, but I think the connections the characters in this game have are not that emotional than the connections Geralt had to his side characters. But as I said, for the gameplay, the story in its core is really good and keeps you playing the game. Not because you have to check this icon on the minimap or do that stupid side quests like in many other open world games like, you know, Assassin's Creed or something. No, you keep on playing because the world is the construct for the story and not vice versa. You play because the world fits in perfectly with the story, not because you want to complete every single side quest and little stupid icon on the map or something. I hope you guys understand my point here. Even though the story is not perfect and some of the characters are not written as good as, for example, in Witcher 3, it keeps you going and entertained and interested. As a conclusion, I would say that the story of Cyberpunk 2077 is the highlight of the game, and therefore the gameplay also keeps you entertained because you want to know how the story evolves, so you keep on playing. That's one big strength of the game that makes it, for me personally, outstanding compared to other games of the same open world action RPG genre.
This city's always got a promise for you. Might be a lie, an illusion, but it's there, just around the corner, and it keeps you going.
One of my major complaints about Cyberpunk 2077, and there it gets into detail, is the progression system of the game. You can find weapons, clothes, cyberware and other cool loot on nearly every enemy you killed or knocked out. But most of this loot is just too bad for your level at the point you get it, and the clothes you get that are better than the ones you already have mostly look like, yeah, honestly, shit. So on the one hand, it doesn't really make much sense to grab all this loot, because it is either too bad for your current level, or it looks like shit. On the other hand, you have to pick it up because you want money to buy stuff, and loot can be sold. So after all, the loot is not rewarding, but you need it to get rich, or at least get some money to buy the cool stuff. I would have much rather preferred it if only special enemies would drop weapons and stuff, and that this stuff could actually be rewarding, because it is better than your current stuff, or it at least looks better. There may be some cool looking clothes, but after 1 or 2 missions they are already outdated in relation to your level. The same goes for the items you can buy. At your current level they may seem good, but after just a few missions they are also outdated and there is better gear to be found. But at this point in time, the looting system in Cyberpunk 2077 is just not good. It is rather disappointing and bad. That's one major critique I have in regards to the progression. The looting system just feels disappointing. But one other big flaw of this progression system is the crafting in Cyberpunk 2077. Yes, there is crafting. You can find crafting recipes in the world, and from them you can craft weapons and clothes or upgrade them. But the amount of upgrade components you have to spend to upgrade your weapons is just ridiculous. Because the upgrade components are very rarely found in the open world, and you never have enough to upgrade. And if you want to buy them from our vendors, they are very, very expensive, because the upgrade components are very rarely found in the open world, and you never have enough to upgrade. And if you want to buy them from vendors because you need them, because there are not enough in the world, they are very, very expensive. So in my case, I just wore the clothes that I found and never cared about upgrading, because it just makes no sense. For me, the progression system could be so much better. It has potential. And I think as a developer you can change the system later, so there's hope that it will get better in the future. But for now, it just doesn't feel right. One small thing that to mention here too is the time progression. What do I mean with time progression? So the longer you play the game, the more advanced you get in regards to damage you can take and damage you can deal. In my case, in the end, no mission was a challenge anymore. So when in the beginning I tried to sneak my way through enemies, in the end I had a sniper that literally one-shot hit nearly every enemy, so it made the silent sneaking part obsolete. And I played on the second hardest difficulty, so imagine someone on easy, they must have been bored just a few hours in. And one other small thing that I have to mention are the fistfights and the fistfight missions. They are just crap. Please fix them, CD Projekt. And everyone who played Cyberpunk knows what I mean. For those who have not played it yet, one thing. Just ignore the fistfight missions. They are bad.
Okay, whatever it takes to ship him.
Down to biz, huh? Ain't the only going down. Follow me. You ready? Not too scared. How's your bike up?
Look forward to it.
Like that. You like the gas, huh? One more shot.
The next and final part of this video will be the technique. But before that, please consider subscribing and liking this video. It would help me a lot and motivate me to make more videos like these, so thanks. I divided this part into 3 subcategories. The first 2, sound and graphics, can be reviewed pretty fast, so let's go. The sound of Cyberpunk 2077 is pretty great. The weapons really feel like weapons with the sounds they are using, and the ambient sounds and the small conversations you can hear when walking the streets of Night City are also very nice and interesting, and of course they also contribute a big part to the immersion of the world.
So, we gonna talk about yesterday?
It's all in the report.
Oh, I read it. Except there's no mention of me telling you to Delta the fuck out of there.
Know what the worst thing is about this place? The crowds? No, the fucking smell.
And the radio stations are also playing cool songs and help the world building by letting you hear radio news from things that happen around the city. Some of these news are even directly connected to actions that the player made during the story quests. But no spoilers here. Overall, the sound and the sound design are pretty well made, and they will certainly help you to get in the right mood. For the graphics, this doesn't really apply. In general, Cyberpunk 2077 looks astonishing, but the graphical errors sometimes just drag you out of the world and destroy your immersion. When you see something like this. You can really just laugh about the game and can't take it seriously anymore. On my PC it isn't that bad, but I have a good PC, so that makes certainly a difference. Looking into the consoles, especially the old PS4 and Xbox One, then it draws a completely different picture. Just let the video speak for itself here. So to summarize this, the graphics are very good in general, and if you have a good PC and a good computer, you can really get the next gen feeling, so that is a good thing. But playing this game on all general consoles feels terrible, and it isn't a really good experience after all. I haven't played the console versions for myself, but from what I saw online, these versions seem to be bad and just should have been cut and never released, or at least should have completely been reworked and not released in this state. A friend of mine told me that even on his Xbox One X and an improved version of the original Xbox, the game looked very bad and had far more graphical glitches and bugs than I experienced on PC. So it's true that the PC version is better, but of course this is no excuse for CD Projekt Red to release the older console version in such a critically bad state. If you plan to buy this game on your PS4 or Xbox One, just know that it won't look as good as the trailers promised, and it may also have many graphical glitches. Now coming to the bugs, you could really fill a book with how many there are. They reach from minor graphical glitches, small incorrections, to really game-breaking bugs, and the ones that just make you completely lose your immersion. As I said in the beginning, I don't want to go into detail about what might have went wrong with the company behind the game, or all the controversies surrounding the launch of Cyberpunk, but I want to make clear that this game is just not finished at this point in time. It feels like it was rushed to release in the holiday season, and that might have been the reason behind the troubleshooting launch. Of course, the management might also just underestimate the time and resources that need to be put in a game like this, but after all, one has to conclude that this game has just so many bugs and glitches. There are countless examples, but if you want to see a bug compilation, just search on YouTube, there are more than enough. I also want to mention an aspect of the game that is not directly related to bugs, but more to the missed potential of this game. Sometimes during the last 2 years this game was announced, the developers talked about the immersive police AI and how this AI will track you down and hunt you if you do illegal things. Now looking at the finished product, you can clearly see that they had to cut these promised gameplay features out of the game. In the release version, when you do something illegal, the police will just teleport to your location and shoot at you, and you only have to drive maybe 100 meters away and they will just disappear and let you go. That's just not good AI. Games like GTA 5 did a far greater job in these regards. Other things that got cut out of the game are, for example, the housing system planned for the character of V, or more skill trees that allowed for further customization. So there are many things that got cut out of the game. That is also worth mentioning. So you see, there are countless bugs and missing features that were once promised but never ended up being in the game. So one could easily say that no one should buy this game, but I think that falls short of what this game really is. So let me come to my conclusion why Cyberpunk 2077, at least to me, is still a good game, even though it has many flaws, and what we could learn from all of them. So what can we say after all? For me, Cyberpunk 2077 was a special experience I never had before while gaming. It makes so much things different and in most cases better than other comparable games. It has an interesting story that keeps you entertained, it has good gameplay, and it also has well-written characters. The game per se is very good. The difficult part comes when you look at all the bugs and glitches, the graphical errors that often destroy your gaming experience. Without these issues, Cyberpunk 2077 might have been able to compete for the crown of an all-time classic, but in the state it is at the moment, it's just a very good but unfinished game. And I think that it also is the source of all the controversies. Many people just look at all the issues it has, and from this point of view I can fully understand why one would say it is a bad game. But if you look at the game itself, the core gameplay, the core story and world building, it is a good game. It's just not a game many wished it would be. I don't want to defend CD Projekt Red for releasing an unfinished game, but I want to encourage people to discuss about a game in a civilized way. The game in itself might suit some types of players better, while it might scare away others, but this is not a reason to hate on CD Projekt Red developers personally, nor to completely hate this game. From my point of view, if this game would have been delayed for maybe, say, half a year or longer, and if the expectations wouldn't have been all that high, the game would be seen more as what it is, a good game, not the best nor the worst game of all time, just a good game with an above average story and interesting characters that has many flaws in the forms of bugs and glitches. So with this video I also wanted to encourage people to lower their expectations for games and pop culture in general. You will always get disappointed if you have too high expectations, and after all, video games are just video games. They may impact your life, but they can never justify people to send death threats to the game developers or just blandly hate on everyone involved, or even everyone that has another opinion contrary to the one they have. I hope you understand the point I wanted to make in this video. It certainly took me some time to do this, but I think it's important to have a certain distance from the game you're talking about before actually talking about it. If you enjoyed the video and want me to do more of this stuff, please consider subscribing and liking this video. After all, I'm also interested in your opinion. In this video, I talked about mine, so leave a comment if you feel different about Cyberpunk 2077. So after all, thanks for watching and have a good time.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.